फोन करेगा और फोन साइलेंट है.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I hope you are doing well and you are seriously serious about the exam, and seriously preparation is going on for all of you. Fine. So in the last class, we have started with time, speed and distance, but because of some technical problems, we couldn't complete it. So what I thought, I'll start this topic again from the very beginning so that you can grasp the things in a very simple way. Fine. So this topic, you are well aware with the topic time, speed and distance. I'm not going to define the basic part of that. So what I'll do, there is some relationship between time, speed and distance. So we'll try to understand those relations. And one more thing I have done in this chapter. What I did, I have divided the problem into different concepts. I'll discuss one concept, and on the basis of that, I'll solve few problems, right? When that is done, I'll go with the second concept, and again on the basis of that, what 3-4 problems will do. Like that, we'll complete 3 or 4 different basic concepts, and with that we'll also solve the problems based on that, right? The first thing is, when we talk about time, speed and distance, you all of you know this formula, but in a more specific way we can remember this. Now I am writing in this format. It will be very easy for you to remember the things. What is this? Distance we can write as speed into time. What is the value of distance? Speed into time. What is the value of speed? Distance by time. What is the value of time? Distance by speed. So all the 3 things are visible here. So how will I write this? First one is distance is equal to, what is the value of distance? Speed into time. Let me call it as S into T. Similarly, speed will be equal to distance by time. Speed equal to how much? Distance by time, and time will be equal to distance by speed. So from this triangular approach, we can see all the 3 formulas. That is my first part of the discussions. Now the second thing is, suppose we have 3 variables, let me call distance, speed and time. If I'll take distance as a constant value, what I'm taking now, distance as a constant value, then how speed and time is related. So we are trying to find a relationship between speed and time when distance is constant. In the same way, we can do one more thing. Let me call the speed is constant, then how distance and time is related. Third one, if the time is constant, how distance and speed is related. If you understand this 3 concepts, 50% of your distance, speed, times are covered with that. Clear? So what happens, sometimes they'll say that speed is increased by 20%. Speed is increased by how much? 20%, and distance is a constant value. Speed is increased by 20%, distance is which value? Constant value. Okay, just wait a minute, let me take one. Yeah, fine. So what am I saying? Suppose distance is constant, how speed and time are related, we'll find out. Second is, when the speed is constant, how distance and time is related. Fine. First thing is, if D is constant, what is constant here? Distance is constant. Fine. Then let's find how speed and time are related to each other. Speed, time, distance. Okay. So what I took the cases here, distance is a which value? Constant value. Suppose distance is 100 kilometer. Then how speed and time are related? Let me call the speed is 20 kilometer per hour. Speed is how much? 20 kilometer per hour. Then what is the value of time? Time will be equal to how much? 5 hours. Fine. If the speed is 10 kilometer per hour, right? Distance is fixed, which is 100 kilometer. Yeah. Then what is time taken will be there? 10 hours. So now from this data we can understand one thing. If the speed is decreasing, we can see that when the speed is decreasing, the value of time is increasing. When d is which value? Constant value. So yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So when distance is which value? Fixed value. Speed and time, we can see that speed is decreasing, time is increasing. Fine. Then one more thing we can see in this case, when one variable is decreasing, other value is increasing, we say that these two quantity are inversely proportional, or these two quantity are connected to which value? Inversely proportional. So when distance is constant, this d is constant, what can we say now? Speed and time are inversely proportional. Speed and time are which proportional? Inversely proportional. And one more thing we can see in this case, if we'll find the product of speed into time, in the first case what is the answer? 100. In second case what is the answer? 100. So first case, speed into time, let me call S1 T1. What is S1 here? S1 is nothing but 20 kilometer per hour. The value of T1 is 5 hours. Then what is the value of S1 T1? 100. What is the value of S2 T2? This value is also 100. 10 into 10 is 100. So when D is constant, S1 T1 must be equal to S2 T2. Very important concept this one. Clear? So what can we say from this? Speed and time both are what? Inversely proportional to each other whenever distance is which value? Constant value, or the value of S1 T1 must be equal to S2 T2 whenever distance is constant. One more thing. Now in this case, what is the ratio of S1 is to S2? How will you find out? S1 is 20 km per hour, S2 is 10 km per hour. The ratio we can say 20 by 10, which is 2:1. Now in the similar cases, if you'll find the ratio of T1 is to T2, that becomes 5:10, that is 1:2. So the ratio of T1 is to T2 will be equal to 1:2. So can I say that if the ratio of S1 is to S2 is A is to B, then the ratio of time will be in the form of B is to A. Very important concept this one. Very important one. Right? What is three things? Whenever distance is constant, speed and time are inversely proportional to each other, or value of S1 T1 will be equal to S2 into T2. Second thing is, if the ratio of S1 is to S2 is A is to B, then the ratio of T1 is to T2 will be equal to B is to A. I hope all of you must be clear with this concept. We'll do some problems based on that so that you'll get more understanding of the concept. Fine. Then now we took distance as constant. Let's take what if speed is constant, what is happening? Second case, if speed is constant, how distance and time are related to each other, we'll see in this. So let me call this is distance, this value is time, and this value is speed. I'm taking speed as a constant value. Let me call the speed is some 20 km per hour. In both the cases, I'm taking a speed as 20 km per hour. Now let me see how distance and time are related to each other. If the distance is 200 km and the speed is 20 km per hour, we know that time taken will be equal to 10 hours. Similarly, if this how much distance is 100 km, speed is 20 km per hour, the time taken will be equal to 5 hours. Right? How do we find the relation? Let me call this is D1, this value is D2, this is T1, and this value is T2. What can we observe in this? Now in this case, we can see that D1 T1 is not equal to D2 T2. One more observation. When the distance is decreasing, what is happening? Time is also decreasing. Distance decreasing, time is also decreasing. So we say that whenever one variable is decreasing and at the same time other variable is also decreasing, then we say that both the variables are connected with what? Direct proportion. Which proportion? Direct proportion. What is direct proportion? If one is increasing, followed by other is also increasing, or if one is decreasing, the other is also decreasing, then the relation is said to be which one? Direct proportion. What is inverse proportion? If one quantity is decreasing and other is increasing, one is decreasing, other is increasing, or one is increasing, other is decreasing, that is called as inversely proportional. Now what is happening in direct proportion? If you'll find the ratio of D1 by T1, what is the ratio of D1 by T1? We can see the ratio is 200 by 10, which is 20. In the second case, the ratio also becomes 20. So the value of D1 by T1 must be equal to D2 by T2 if S is constant. If speed is which value? Constant value. Clear? One more thing. If you'll find the ratio of D1 by D2, what is the ratio of D1 by D2? 2:1. The ratio of T1 by T2 is also T2:1. So in this case, if D1 is to D2 is A is to B, the ratio of T1 is to T2 also will be equal to A is to B, because both are in which proportion? Direct proportion. I hope this is also clear to all of you. What will be the third one? Third, I'm not going to discuss, just you can guess it. If time is constant, if T is constant. Similarly, when T is constant, distance and speed are in direct proportion. So D1 by S1 must be equal to D2 by S2. Clear? All these three things we can again see from the triangular approach. What was my triangular approach? Look here. D equal to S into T. That means S1 T1 must be equal to S2 T2 whenever D is constant. Similarly, whenever S is constant, D1 by T1 must be equal to D2 by T2. And other way, whenever time is constant, D1 by S1 must be equal to D2 by S2, right? If you know this idea, and this is very important point, keep that in mind. Right, the most important point while solving the problem. So if you have this idea, and one more thing, many of the problems you have to convert one unit in the other unit. So conversion of one unit to another unit. Conversion from one unit to another unit. Mostly if you'll see the exams, they'll ask you to convert kilometer per hour in the form of meter per second, or meter per second we have to convert in the form of kilometer per hour. Let's take one example. Suppose we have we have 54 kilometer per hour. Let me take a number. 54, I won't take it. 5 by 18 meter per second, fine. Let me call 36 kilometer per hour. I have to convert this in the form of meter per second. How will I do this? The simple idea is write kilometer in the form of meter. Kilometer in the form of meter, how will you write? 1 kilometer is 1000 meter divided by this hour will write in the form of second. So that is 60 into 60 second. Then this 0 will get cancelled. 6 into 6 is 36. The answer will be equal to 10 meter per second. Clear? So what is my factor? Factor is nothing but basically we are multiplying by 1000 by 60 into 60. If you simplify that, your factor will be in the form of 85 by 18. Which format will get it? 5 and 18. So if you just remember the two numbers, whenever we are converting kilometer per hour to meter per second, two numbers are important. One is 5, other is 18. Then what is trick we have? Suppose we have kilometer per hour and I have to convert into how much? Meter per second. The simple way to remember is multiply by kilometer to meter. Kilometer to meter, is it a smaller quantity? Your answer is yes. Kilometer is a bigger quantity, bigger unit than what? Meter. So always take numerator as a smaller quantity, denominator as a bigger quantity. So we'll multiply by how much? 5 by 18 whenever we are how much converting kilometer per hour to meter per second. What concept I'm asking you? Again, this is not a concept, just a way to remember. I'm telling you. How will I remember? We are converting bigger unit to which is unit? Smaller unit, right? In a smaller unit, when you're converting, numerator should be a smaller, denominator should be a bigger value. What is the other part? Suppose we have meter per second. I want to convert in the form of kilometer per hour. So I'm converting into what? A bigger unit. So multiply by, first number should be bigger, second number should be smaller. So multiplying by 5 by 18, convert in the form of meter per second. Multiply by 18 by 5, you can convert in the form of kilometer per hour. Right. Right. So this is my first thing, first basic information you got it to solve the problems. And you'll see that in any of these exams, 50-60% problems are coming from this 2 bits. What is 2 bits? Let's again have a revision on that. First thing what I said, whenever distance is constant, speed and time are inversely proportional, or the value of S1 T1 must be equal to S2 T2. What is the other way? When speed is constant, distance and time are directly proportional, so their ratios are equal, D1 by T1 equal to D2 by T2, and similarly the third case. Second thing what we are learning, how to convert one unit to another unit, right? So before we go with the next concept, let's have some problems based on this concept. Fine. What is here? Okay, the first problem, we'll start with a very simple problem. Again, there are different way to solve this, but again, I'm fixed with only one concept. When distance is fixed, when speed is fixed, when time is fixed, how to solve the problem. A man travels a fixed distance. Whenever you say the distance is fixed distance at which one? 60 kilometer per hour. Which distance? At which one? 60 kilometer per hour. Let me change the color. Fine. And takes 5 hours. How much time will he take at 75 kilometer per hour? So we are supposed to find the time when the speed is 75 kilometer per hour, and what is given? Distance is a fixed value. Whenever distance is constant, we know that S1 into T1 must be equal to S2 into T2. Now I'll say, sir, what is S1, what is S1 T1, what is S2 T2? So let's, for the first problem, I'm making a diagram. So I'll take 2 cases here. What are the 2 cases? In the first case, what is S1, what is T1? Let me call this is S1, this is T1. Right. In the first case, what is the speed is given? 60 kilometer per hour. When the speed is 60 kilometer per hour, the time is given as how many hours? 5 hours. Similarly, now what they ask you, when the speed is 75 kilometer per hour, so this value I am calling as S2. This value we are calling as which one? S2. Then we have to find this value which I'll call as T2. I will not make this diagram again and again. In the first case, when the speed is 60 kilometer per hour, the time taken is 5 hours. When the speed is 75 kilometer per hour, how much time it will take? We are supposed to solve the problem. Concept is how much? S1 T1 should be equal to S2 T2. So 60 into 5 must be equal to 75 into, let me call this time T2 is. So what is the value of T2 now? The time taken will be equal to 60 into 5 divided by 75. 15 5 ja, 15 4 ja. 5 will get cancelled, so the answer will be equal to 4 hours. I hope the concept is clear to all of you. You can solve this problem by different approach. The basics approach also we can do that for solving the problem. Chalo, let's move to the next slide. What is given? A train covers a distance in 8 hours at 50 km per hour. A train covers a distance is a fixed value. If speed is increased by 20%, find the new time. So when you solve the problems, you have to pick up the problem with this value. Speed is increased by 20%. So can I say that if the speed is 100 km per hour, after increment of 20%, now the speed will be equal to 120 km per hour. Speed is increased by how much? 20%. Then if the ratio of speed is S1 is to S2, which is 100 by 120, then you can say the T1 by T2 ratio will be equal to 120 by 100. Which concept is this? Whenever distance is constant and if the ratio of S1 is to S2 is A is to B, then the ratio of T1 is to T2 will be equal to B is to A, which is 120 by 100. Fine. Then what is given? A train covers a distance 8 hours at how much? 50 km per hour. If the speed is increased by how much? 20%. Then 8 hours is given to us. What is 8 hour for us? Can I say my 120 part is 8 hours? One more thing. Speed is given as how much? 50 km per hour. So let's make this speed as 50. If I make the value is how much? 50. If this is 50, can I say that S2 value will be equal to 60? The ratio of S1 is to S2 is how much? 5 is to 6. Then the ratio of T2 is to T1 will be equal to how much? 6 is to 5. Clear? Now you can match this. 50 km. What should be the speed here? 60 km. If the speed is increased by how much? 20%. Find the new timing. What is the new timing? We have to find out. Here how much? 6 part. This part is how much? 5 part. Then what is the time is given in the first case? 8 hours. So can I say the value of 6 part will be equal to 8 hours. What is the value of 6 part? 8 hours. And we are supposed to find the value of time, which is 5 part. So the value of 1 part will be equal to 8 by 6. So the value of 5 part will be equal to 8 by 6 into 5. What is the answer? 4 by 3 into 5. 4 into 5, 20 by 3, which is approximately 6.66 or 6.67. We are solving the problem in what? Time in hours. So 6.67 hours. Clear what happened? Again, listen the problem. Speed is increased by 20%. So if the speed is 100, now the speed becomes how much? 120. But what is the initial speed is given? 50 km per hour. So let's 100 as 50. So I'm dividing by 2. So 50 is to how much? 60 ratio will be speed is to S1 is to S2. If the ratio of S1 is to S2 is 5 is to 6, the ratio of T1 is to T2 will be equal to 6 is to 5. In the first case, the time is given as how much? 8 hours. So 6 part will be equal to 8 hours. Find the value of 5 part, which is 6.67 hours. Right? This is one approach to solve the problem. Other way to do the same problem is what is given here? 8 hours at 50 km per hour. Fine. So what is given? 8 hours at 50 km per hour. In the first case, the time is given as how much? 8 hours. Speed is given as 50 km per hour. What is given now? If the speed is increased by 20%, this value is how much? Increased by 20%. So can I say the value of S2 will be equal to 50 plus what is 20% of 50? You know that the 10% of 50 is 5. So 20% will be equal to 10. 60. What are we supposed to find? When the speed is increased by how much? 20%, then what is the time we have to supposed to find out? T2 equal to question mark. Similar concepts in this distance is a fixed value. We can say that S1 T1 must be equal to S2 T2. What is S1 T1 here? 50 into 8 must be equal to 60 into question mark, or 60 into which value? T2 value. Therefore T2 will be equal to 50 into 8, 400 divided by 60, 40 by 6 or 20 by 3, which is 6.66 or 6.67 kilometer approximately. Sorry, we are finding how much time now. So this will be how much? 6.67 hours. I hope you are very comfortable with both the approach, right? I think this will be more easier to solve the problem for this part. Right, moving to the next part. Right. Whenever a problem is displayed, first thing is you pause the video, try to solve the problem by yourself. If you don't get it, then only you see the solution. Otherwise, to verify the solution, whether your process is a shortcut ones or you are taking a long road, you can have a look on this problem solving part. What is given? A car covers a distance in 6 hours at a certain speed. Now the speed is not given, but one thing is fixed, that the car covers a certain distance. It means distance is going to be a fixed value. Distance is not going to change. 6 hours at a certain speed. If the speed is increased by 20%, how much time will it take? Now speed is not given, we can't find 20% of the speed. So in this case, I'll take the ratio of S1 is to S2. Now you'll say, sir, what is the ratio of S1 is to S2? So the speed is increased by 20%. If in the beginning speed is 100 km per hour, now the speed becomes 120 km per hour. Clear? Then if the S1 is to S2 ratio is 100 is to 120, the value of T1 is to T2 will be equal to 120 is to 100. Fine. Next part. Then what is given? Distance in 6 hours. So can I say that this part is given as 6 hours? The initial T1 value is given as 6 hours. So 120 part is given as how many hours? 6 hours. So let me call it 6. 120 part is equal to how much? 6 hours. We have to find what? The new timing. This 100 part we are supposed to find out. Again, let me clear it. What is T1 here? T1 is the time when the speed is how much? 100 km per hour. That speed is given as 6 hours. So 120 part is 6. What is the value of one part? 6 by 120. What are we supposed to find? The time. The new time is 100 part. So the value of 100 part will be equal to 6 by 120 into 100. 0 will get cancelled. 6 into 2, 2 into 5. So now I can say the time taken will be equal to 5 hours. What do we see difference in both the problem? If you'll compare with this problem with the question number second one, in that case speed was given. So we can find 20% of the speed. Now the speed is not given. So start with the problem is 100, S2 will be equal to 120. When you know the ratio of S1 is to S2, T1 is to T2 will be the reciprocal of that value. That is what we have learned in the first slide. Right. Let's move to the next problem. A man reduces his speed by 25%. Okay. How will I write this data? A man reduces his speed by 25%. It means when the S1 and S2 will take, if the speed is 100 km per hour, after reduction of 25%, speed becomes 75 km per hour. I hope all of you must be clear with this idea. So you know what is S1 is to S2, 100 is to 75. If the ratio of S1 is to S2 is 100 is to 75, what is the ratio of T1 is to T2? Sir, if it is A is to B, other ratio will be B is to A. So the answer must be equal to 75 is to 100. That is part is clear. Now what is given? It takes 2 hours more than find the original speed. What is given? When the speed is decreased, you know that it will take more time now. It will take how much time? More time. And the difference of both the time is given as 2 hours. What is 2 hours here? Difference of both the time. What is difference of both the time here? 25. What is difference here? 25 part, let me call. So when difference is 25 part, that value is given as how much? 2 hours. Can I find the value of 1 part now? 1 part will be equal to 2 divided by 25. What are we supposed to find out? When the speed is decreased by 25%, find the original time. I hope this, you know that this is my original time. That is how many part? 75 part. You know the value of 1 part. Therefore, the value of 75 part will be equal to 2 by 25 into 75. 25 into 3. So the answer must be equal to 6. What we are saying? Find the original time. So 675 part is 6 hours. So what is time taken in the beginning? It will take how many hours? 6 hours to cover the journey. I hope it is clear. So always, whenever the problem is given in the form of percentage, first take the ratio of how much, whatever is given, that ratio, then reciprocal ratio. With the help of that reciprocal ratio, we can solve the problems. Clear? Right. Then let's go with the next slide. Right. If a person increases speed by 50%, what is the meaning of this? Initially, if the speed is 100 km per hour, now speed becomes 150 km per hour. By what percent does time decreases? By what percentage time decreases? So T1 is to T2 will be equal to now 150 by 100. Right. What percent time decreases? Can we see time is decreases by how much? 50. So percentage decrease will be equal to, so time decreases 50 divided by what is the initial time, which is 150 into 100. That is how much? 1 by 3 into 100. 1 by 3 is in the form of percentages 33.33% or 33 1 by 3%. Whatever answers are given in the options. Similar ideas. When the speed is increased by 50%, time must decrease by how much? 33.33% if the distance is a constant value. Right? Can you see all the problems have the similar concept? What is similar concept I'm applying? If the ratio of S1 is to S2 is A is to B, then the ratio of T1 is to T2 must be equal to B is to A, because S and T are inversely proportional to each other whenever distance is a constant value. Fine. Let's go for the one more problem. Right. If I walk 7 by 6 of my usual speed, then I reach my office 15 minutes late, right? What is the usual time taken by me to reach the office? Fine. So what is given? What is the first case? If I walk 7 by 6 of my usual speed, so can I say that speed is given in the form of 7 is to 6. What is speed is given? 7 is to 6. Then what is the ratio of time? T1 is to T2 will be 6 is to 7. 7 by 6 of the speed means if the initial speed is 7, now the speed becomes 6. Clear? Then if the speed is 7 is to 6, now the time will be equal to 6 is to 7. What next point is given? Then I reach my office 15 minutes late or 15 minutes early. So can I say that the difference of both the time is given as how much? 15 minutes. What is difference of both the time here? 1 part. So this 1 part is given as 15 minutes. Right. If the value of 1 part is given as 15 minutes, what are we supposed to find out? Find the usual time taken, which is what this part, 6 part we are supposed to find out. What is 6 part? If 1 part is 15 minutes, the value of 6 part will be 6 into 15, which is 90 minutes. Clear? What are we supposed to find? We have to find the initial time, and that initial time taken is how many part? 6 part. So the value of 6 part will be equal to 90 minutes.
Some person is asking, aspirant is asking, it seems, it is recorded class. Now it is already recorded class, but it is going live now. Please show your time to the camera. Watch.
Okay, it's not a recorded class. I am live right now. Its time is 1:20. I think 1:20, sir.
Show it clearly.
Yeah, its time is 1:20, right? We are live right now. It's not a recorded class. The thing is, we have done these problems in the earlier class also. And because of some technical glitches, we couldn't complete. So I started from the very beginning today's class.
Then also we completed, but it was not streamed smoothly. So
Correct.
now again we are repeating.
Yeah. So again, you can check the time. It's 1:20 and we are live right now. It's not like it's not recording classes. Fine. Okay. What is next one? A 100-meter long train with a speed of 30 km per hour can cross a man in how much time? Right. Now see one thing. Suppose let me call this is a train. Train is crossing a man. Suppose man is standing here. Train is crossing a man means train is crossing itself. That's all. Train is crossing a man means what? Train is what? Crossing itself, or the distance traveled by the train will be equal to the length of the train. Right? Again, let me repeat it. What is given? A train is crossing a man means what? Train is crossing itself. Train is crossing itself means the distance traveled by the train will be equal to the length of the train. In some cases, what they'll say that a train is there. It will cross a platform. Let me call this one is your platform. Train will cross the platform. Train will cross the platform means train will cross the platform as well as train will cross itself. Train is crossing a man. What is the meaning of that? Train is crossing itself. But when I say that train is crossing a platform, it means train is crossing platform as well as the train is crossing itself. Or what is the distance here? In this case, the distance covered will be equal to the length of platform plus length of the train. In the second case. In the first case, the distance traveled by the train will be equal to the length of the train itself. Because train is crossing what? A single person. That length we cannot take that one. Now what is given? A 100-meter long train with a speed of 30 km per hour can cross a man in how much time? Fine. One more thing. This is given in meter. Speed is given in 30 km per hour. Right? So if you'll find the time, either we can convert 100 meter in kilometer per hour. 100 meter we can convert in kilometer, or 30 km per hour convert in the form of how much? Meter. In the form of meter per second. Fine. Any one of the things. Depends on the options, we have to do that. So if you'll see, the options will be given here in the form of mostly meter per second. So let me convert this 30 km per hour in the form of meter per second. How will you do this? Kilometer to meter, which value? We are changing into a smaller unit. So multiply by 5 by 18. What is the answer? 6 5 ja 30, 6 3 ja 18. So this is 25 by 3 meter per second. This is speed of the train. Train is crossing a man means train is crossing itself. So the time will be equal to distance by speed. Distance by speed. Train is crossing itself means distance will be equal to the length of the train, which is 100 meter, divided by speed is 25 by 3 meter per second, which is 100 into 3 divided by 25. 25 4 ja 100, so 4 into 3 is 12 seconds. Clear? So what is time taken by the train? So I can say that this is the time taken by the train to how much? To cross the train itself. To cross what? The train itself. So distance will be equal to length of train divided by speed is 25 by 3. So it will take 12 seconds to cross the man. Fine. Let's see one more problem which is based on the platform. A 275 meter long train crosses a platform of equal length. What is the meaning of crossing a platform of equal length? 275 meter is the length of train. 275 meter is length of train plus what is the length of platform? Length of platform is also equal to the length of train. Train is crossing the platform. It means the distance traveled by the train will be equal to length of train plus length of platform. Fine. This is the value of your distance. We are supposed to find the speed of the train. So speed is nothing but distance by time. What is speed? Distance by time. So time is given as how much? 33 seconds. One more thing. 33 seconds. Again. So distance by time, meter. So answer will be in the form of how much? Meter per second. Meter per second. Suppose the answer is given in the form of kilometer per hour. How will I convert this in the kilometer per hour? 275 plus 275. How much? 400 plus 150. I think this is 550 by 33. Convert in the form of kilometer per hour. So multiply by 18 by 5. This value will be the form of how much? Kilometer per hour. 5 110 11 3 are 33, 11 into 10, 3 into 6 is 18. So the speed will be equal to 60 kilometer per hour. So what is the criteria is given here? The train is crossing the platform of which length? Equal length. It means length of train plus length of platform will be the total distance covered by the train divided by time is taken is how much? 33 seconds. So distance by time will be equal to how much? Speed. Speed is distance by time. Convert meter per second to kilometer per hour, because if you'll see the options will be given here in the form of kilometer per hour. Right. Let's move to the next problem. Right. A train crosses 110 meter long platform in 12 seconds at the speed of 54 kilometer per hour. Then what is the length of the train? Right. Now what is given again? The train is crossing a platform. So what is distance covered by the train? Distance covered by the train will be equal to length of platform plus the length of the train. Let me call length of the train is how much? Some x meter. What is x here? This x represents length of train in meter. Length of train in what? In meter. Clear? So distance traveled by train will be equal to how much? Length of platform plus how much? Length of the train. Then I think all the values is given. We are supposed to find the value of x here. One more thing, this is given in meter second. Let me convert kilometer per hour in the form of meter per second. So 50 kilometer per hour. If you'll convert in the form of meter per second, 54 into 5 by 18. 18 3s are 54. So the answer will be equal to 15 meter per second. Next, now we know that speed is equal to distance by time. What is speed is given now? Speed is given as 15 meter per second. Distance traveled by the train will be equal to 100 plus x. And to cover that distance, it takes the time of how much? 12 seconds. So from this we can say the value of 100 plus x is equal to, is it 100 or 110? Fine, the train crosses a 110 meter long platform. So this value is given as how much? Length of platform is given as 110 meter, not 100 meter. So this value will be equal to now 110 plus x divided by 12. Divided by 12. 12 into 50 is 180. So I can say 110 plus x equal to 180. Therefore, the value of x will be 180 minus 110, which is 70 meter. So what is the length of the train? The length of the train will be equal to 70 meter. So we have solved enough problems on the basic concept. What was the basic concept? Distance is equal to speed into time. And whenever distance is a constant value, S1 T1 must be equal to S to T2. Second idea was, if the ratio of S1 is to S2 is A is to B, then the ratio of T1 is to T2 must be equal to B is to A. What was the second one? If a train is crossing a man, that means the train is crossing itself, or the distance covered by the train will be equal to the length of the train. But if the train is covered, how much? If the train passes what? A platform. Or if the train crosses what? A platform, then what we can say? The distance traveled by the train will be equal to the length of the train plus length of the platform. Right? With the help of that, we have done this some problems. Now let's understand few more concepts before we solve the problem. What is average speed? Total distance covered divided by the total time. Average speed is how much? Total distance covered divided by total distance covered divided by the total time. Total time. If you see in any competitive exam, they're asking two type of problems here from the average speed. What is one speed? Two concept. What is two concept? First one is, if time is constant, then how to find the value of average speed? And the second concept, when the distance is constant, how will you find the value of average speed? So let me discuss the first part. I'll divide this into two parts. One is, if time is constant. If time is constant. Second is, if distance is constant, how will you find the average speed? Distance is constant. Right? Let's try to understand this. Now in the first part, let me call a person has traveled in T hour or T minute or T second, anything you can say, at some distance, at how much? In an interval of T, the speed of the person was given X kilometer per hour. Speed is given as how much? X kilometer per hour. What is the duration of the time? T hour. Again, after T more hours, now the speed was how much again? X kilometer per hour. Right? In the first, duration of the time is how much? T hour. Again, after T hour, the speed is how much? X kilometer per hour. That's what I'm trying to say when the time is constant. Right? Then, in the first case, what is distance? What is total distance covered here? Distance is how much? Speed into time. So X into T. Plus in the second case, again, distance will be equal to X into T, which is 2xt. What is the total time covered here? The total time will be equal to 2t. So what is the average speed? The average speed will be equal to 2xt divided by how much? 2t. Total distance is how much? 2xt divided by 2t. If we'll cancel 2t, wait a minute. In the first case, how much? Speed is given X kilometer per hour. Total time is how much? T. Second case, time is again T. So total distance covered is how much? Xt, 2xt, and total time is 2t. So 2xt divided by 2t. What is the average speed here? X. One more thing. What I did here, I took in the first case, speed was X kilometer per hour. In the second case, if there is a variation of the speed, let me call the speed is Y kilometer per hour. Right? If the speed is how much? Y kilometer per hour. Then in the first case, what is distance covered? Xt. In the second case, distance covered will be equal to how much? Yt. Clear? Or I can say the total distance will be equal to X plus Y into T. Now, total time is how much? T plus T, 2t. So what is the average speed now? Total distance covered, which is X plus Y into T divided by 2t, which is X plus Y by 2. So can I say that when the time is constant, the average speed will be equal to the average of both the speeds. What is the average speed? Which is average of both the speed, that is x plus y divided by 2. Suppose one more duration is given as t more hour is given. In the duration of t hours more, again if the speed is z kilometer per hour. What is speed now? Some z kilometer per hour, then the average speed will be equal to average of all the speeds, which is x plus y plus z divided by 3. Clear? So whenever time is constant, the average speed will be equal to how much? Average of all the speeds. Now think about the second case. If distance is constant, how do we find the value of average speed? Let me take another slide now. So let me call, this is a distance d, and one more distance a person is covered, again one more distance is how much? D kilometer. Then in the first case, speed is x kilometer per hour. In the second case, speed is y kilometer per hour. How will you find the average speed? What is time taken in the first case? Yeah, first case, distance will be equal to how much? Right, total distance covered is, total distance will be equal to d plus d, which is 2d kilometer. Or yeah, what is total time? In the first case, the time is how much? Distance by speed, which is x by d by x, will be what time taken in the first case. What is time taken in the second case? D by x, d by y. So what is total? Total distance covered. What is total distance covered here? 2d divided by total time taken is d by x plus d by y. If you cancel d from numerator and denominator, the answer will be equal to 2 divided by 1 by x plus 1 by y. If you simplify that, which is 2xy divided by x plus y. One cases. Suppose one more, after covering a distance of one more d kilometer, if the speed is z kilometer per hour. Now in this context, what is the average speed? Average speed will be equal to, if you'll see the data, this is 2 divided by 1 by x plus 1 by y. If there are 3 terms, then the answer will be equal to 3 divided by 1 by x plus 1 by y plus 1 by z. This is nothing but 3d divided by d by x plus d by y plus d by z. By cancelling d, that value will be the value of average speed. Clear? So how will you remember this 2 point? The first point is, when time is constant, what is the average speed? Average speed is the average of all the speed. When the distance is constant, in that case, the average speed for the two values will be equal to 2xy by x plus y. But if the 3 variable is given, then the answer is 3 divided by 1 by x plus 1 by y plus 1 by z. Right? Let's solve few problems based on this. A man covers a certain distance with x kilometer per hour. Well, let me see, this is total time. Let me pick up the problems from the average speed. Yes. Sudhir runs a certain distance at a speed of 13 kilometer per hour for how many minutes? 7 minutes. He again walks for 7 minutes at the rate of 3 kilometer per hour. So can I say that in both the cases, the time is given as a constant value. Time is not changing. What they are asking you, find the average speed. We know that whenever time is constant, the average speed will be equal to the average of both the speed. What is average speed? The average of both the speeds. What is the speed in the first case? 13 kilometer per hour. In the second case, the speed is given as 3 kilometer per hour. So the average speed will be 13 plus 3 by 2, which is 16 by 2, or 8 kilometer per hour. Right? So whenever time is constant, directly we can find the value of average speed, which is average of both the speeds. Right? Let's go with one more problem. A car travels certain journey at 40 kilometer per hour and an equal distance more at 60 kilometer per hour. Right? So can we say that distance is fixed in both the cases? When the distance is fixed in both the cases, then what is the value of average speed? Average speed will be equal to, I can say 2 divided by 1 by x plus 1 by y, or if you calculate, this becomes 2xy divided by x plus y. What is x? X is the speed in the first case, y is the speed in the second case, which is 2 into 40 into 60 divided by 40 plus 60. What is the answer? 2 into 40 into 60 divided by 100. 48 kilometer per hour. Clear? If you see any competitive exam, they're not asking any more questions from the average speed, only 2 concepts they'll ask you. At that time, you don't have to verify all the cases. So only thing you have to remember, when the time is constant, then average speed is what? Average of the speed. When the distance is constant, then average speed will apply with this formula. We have to find the value of average speed. Right? Suppose time or distance is not constant. Any of these values is not constant. Then how will you find the average speed? The simple concept. What is the meaning of average speed? Total distance covered by the total time. Find total distance in all the cases, distance in all the cases, time in all the variation of the cases, add up total distance, add the complete time, and then find the value of average speed. Right, so this is an reminder. Right. That's all. I think a few more concepts are left from distance and time. One concept is concept of relative speed. So next class we'll be starting with concept of relative speed. We'll be solving few more problems based on those concepts. So that's all for today. Make sure that you are practicing these problems. We'll be sharing you a PDF of all the questions, right? So once you try to solve all the questions by yourself, and then also you can see the videos by that. Yeah. Thank you everyone.